Open your banking app and look at the number on the screen. It can buy food, pay rent, or travel across the planet in seconds. But most of it has never been a coin, a banknote, or a bar of gold. It is an entry in a database. That sounds extremely modern. It is not. For thousands of years, money has helped humans remember who owns what, who owes what, and which promises can be trusted. The objects changed from clay to shells, metal, paper, and code. The real invention was the record. The familiar story begins with barter, grain for a goat. Barter existed, but evidence that entire early societies ran only on direct swaps is difficult to find. Inside small communities, people shared, gave gifts, or kept informal debts. You helped me today. I helped you after the harvest. The relationship carried the record. The problem appeared when communities grew. Strangers could not rely on remembered favors. People needed a common way to measure value and make promises portable. In ancient Mesopotamia, temples and palaces recorded obligations on clay tablets. A tablet might say someone owed barley or silver. The clay was not the valuable part. Its power came from the institution and shared rules behind the record. This is the first twist. Money could exist as an account long before coins appeared. Physical money solved another problem. A debt record worked only where people recognized its keeper. Travelers needed value that could move without a local ledger. People used cattle, grain, salt, beads, cowrie shells, and metal. Good money had to survive storage, travel well, divide into smaller units, and remain difficult to produce. Strawberries are valuable, but they rot. A cow is durable, but buying half a loaf with one is inconvenient. Even a heavy object did not need to move. On the island of Yap, large stone discs represented wealth while the community remembered who owned them. A stone reportedly lost at sea could still retain value because everyone accepted its existence and ownership. The object mattered less than the record. Around the 7th century BC, coins produced in Lydia, now part of Turkey, offered a shortcut. Made from electrum and marked with an official stamp, they reduced the need to weigh and test metal during every transaction. A coin was also a political message. Its stamp promised a standard weight and purity. Trade became faster, taxes easier to collect, and armies easier to pay. Money and state power became connected. That connection created temptation. A ruler could reduce the precious metal inside each coin while keeping its official value. The Roman denarius changed in metal content as emperors faced rising costs. Debasement did not single-handedly destroy Rome, but it exposed a permanent problem. Whoever guarantees the standard may benefit from weakening it. Coins were durable, but heavy and dangerous to transport. China developed a convenient answer. Merchants used paper claims for deposited coins, and during the Song dynasty the government issued state paper money in the early 12th century. A light sheet could represent a pile of metal. But people had to believe the paper would remain scarce enough and that someone else would accept it tomorrow. When governments issued far more notes than their economies could support, confidence weakened and prices rose. Paper had not failed because it was paper, the promise behind it had failed. Renaissance Italian banks kept accounts while merchants used bills of exchange across long distances. A trader could deposit funds in one city, carry a document instead of a chest of coins, and receive value elsewhere. Banking turned geography into bookkeeping. Goldsmiths and banks issued receipts for deposited metal. If people trusted the issuer, the claim could move more easily than the gold it represented. By the 19th century, many major economies linked currencies to gold. Notes could be converted into a fixed quantity of metal. This encouraged confidence across borders, but constrained money by gold reserves and new mining. During wars or panics, governments often suspended convertibility because the promise became too restrictive. The First World War shattered much of the system. During Germany's hyperinflation in 1923, war debts, reparations, political conflict, collapsing production, and money creation fed one another. Prices changed within hours. Banknotes became cheaper than the goods they bought. The lesson was not that printing always causes instant disaster. Money collapses when claims race beyond the economy's ability to deliver goods while trust in the state disappears. In 1944, 44 nations met at Bretton Woods. Other currencies were linked to the United States dollar, and the dollar to gold at $35 an ounce. Gold sat at one end of a chain of promises, with the dollar at its center. The system worked while foreign governments believed the United States could exchange dollars for gold. As overseas dollars multiplied and gold reserves came under pressure, the promise became harder to maintain. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon suspended convertibility. The chain was cut. Modern currencies became fiat money. It is not supported by nothing. Governments levy taxes, law support payments, central banks manage the system, and the economy produces things people need. Above all, fiat money works because others are expected to accept it. Today, most money exists as bank deposits. When a commercial bank approves a loan and credits an account, it creates deposit money. Repaying the loan removes that money. Banks still face limits from capital rules, liquidity, credit risk, regulation, and the need for borrower who is able to repay. When you tap a card, no notes race across town. Ledgers update, and central bank reserves help banks settle the difference. The 2008 financial crisis revealed the system's vulnerability. Risky lending, leverage, and complex products tied institutions together. When confidence collapsed, lending froze. Governments and central banks intervened to keep payments and banks operating. Too many people, the event created an uncomfortable question. If money could be expanded to rescue institutions, who controlled the ledger and whose promises received protection? That year, Satoshi Nakamoto proposed Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Instead of one bank keeping the authoritative record, a network would share a public history. Cryptography and proof of work would resist rewriting it, while predictable issuance would eventually cap supply at 21 million Bitcoin. Bitcoin did not remove trust, it moved trust from a central issuer toward open-source rules, cryptography, participants, and incentives. Transactions can cross borders without a central payment company, but prices are volatile. Private keys offer independence, but losing one can destroy access. Proof of work protects the ledger but consumes substantial energy. Governments are also exploring central bank digital currencies. A CBDC would be a digital claim on a central bank. It could make payments faster or more accessible, while raising questions about privacy, surveillance, resilience, and commercial banks. Technology alone does not decide the outcome. Digital currencies can offer different privacy protections and roles for intermediaries. The decisive issue is governance, who sees the ledger, changes the rules, and protects users. The history of money is not a straight march toward perfect digital cash, it is a cycle. Each new form solves an old weakness, then concentrates trust somewhere new. Clay tablets needed institutions. Coins needed rulers. Paper needed issuers. Banks needed regulators. Fiat needs credible governments. Bitcoin needs a secure network. Money has never been only the thing in your hand. It is a shared memory system for an entire society. When that memory is trusted, a shell, a stamped coin, a paper note, or a number on a screen can move the world. When trust breaks, even gold-colored paper becomes just paper. The next form of money may live in a bank database, on a public blockchain, or in a system not yet invented. The most important question will not be what it is made of. The important questions will be who keeps the record, who writes the rules, and what happens when the promise is broken.